just how he usually has his rooms.
I wouldn't be surprised. Where am I jumping down?
Should you put Ted in the middle again?
Yeah.
Yeah, you go
In
there,
here?
and then Gary will go on red mic
Just
there, yeah.
move over.
Oh, sorry, over here. Sorry, when you said middle, I thought you meant middle. Of the
Oh,
chair.
sorry, yeah. In between, isn't it? Yeah. We just had Kirsten doing one on fell running, actually.
Right.
So she's done spoke a little bit about Bofra, but I thought we could touch upon it again because I want to talk more about Kilty as well and that epic run. I've been filling Gary in on your demonic descending as well, your skills and
4 fingers.
It's getting worse, Chris. Don't need to make a fist as well. Have you listened to it new?
No, I've not listened to it. No, I haven't listened anymore. No.
Oh, right, because, well, I'm not going to tell you the cow story then. We won't mention that on this episode because I want you to listen to that first.
Right, no.
You'll probably unfriend me. I reckon we can jump straight into this, can't we? So, welcome to the RUNcensored Podcast.
Were you recording? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, with me, Ben Mounsey.
I've only on number 12 or something.
Where's the screen?
I'll do that one again. Yeah. Fucking hell, we set the tone here, how this one's going to go, aren't we? Right, we'll start again.
I only got him here so we could kick some structure.
Welcome to the RUNcensored Podcast with me, Ben Mounsey, Gary House, and our special guest today, Ted Mason, the one and only Ted Mason. Ted, it's an honour to have you here, an absolute pleasure. I've been desperate to get you on this podcast, so thanks for joining us.
No problem, Ben.
And I mean, this conversation is probably going to go in a multitude of directions, which is good. We've sort of not even... We've roughly planned what we're going to ask you, but we've not really scripted it because I'm just going to let this one go.
I'm excited because Ted... I've never met Ted, for everyone watching or listening, but yeah, Ben's been filling me in on some of the stories. And it's
Ted, I'm honestly pleased to say that Ted is a good friend of mine, but also somebody I look up to a lot. I mean, he's the undisputed king of Yorkshire. Around these parts, he's so well known. Everybody knows him for his character, but also for his athletic ability. I mean, there isn't a fell race that Ted hasn't won in this county and around England as well. I mean, you've gone further than Yorkshire, but you are a big specialist in Bofra fell running, short distance fell running, but also you do the long stuff as well. You're probably one of the few people that...
Do you remember that thing where we let the guest introduce himself?
We're going to learn a bit more about Ted as we go on. I know, I got excited, Chris. I got excited. I'm going to have to finish it now.
easiest podcast you've ever done. You don't have to say anything.
Yeah, and that was all about me.
Oh, God. So, thanks for that, yeah. I mean, there's not many people that can put me to shame going downhill, but you are one of them, Ted. So that's probably a good place to start. Your strengths about going downhill.
Yeah, I seem to have a strength going downhill. But you were bigging me up there, saying how great a runner I was. Actually, first and foremost, I'm not actually a very good runner. You know, like you see some of the top runners, they just effortlessly move across the ground.
Yeah.
They're so fluid, and I'm not that at all. And I'm probably... You're a lot more fluid than me, but you're probably come under the heading of a strong runner, and that's what I am, and that's what you can get away with being a fell runner. Because you look at some of the trail running or road running, it's pretty much about getting into your cadence and just flowing. But fell running, and trail running, I'm sure to a degree, you have to think about every step, and you have to be strong to cope with your body changing all the time, and that just seems to be what I'm good at.
Yeah,
I've always had a good core strength, and I've got really flexible ankles because I was just born like that.
Yeah.
And that, so I can go over on my ankle and carry on. Now, if you've got weak ankles and you've got a hill to go down, you're gonna be.
I think all three of us are fans of the downhill. That's what I love most as well. And a bit like you said, I quickly realised, you know that feeling of your ankle going over. It would go over and nothing would happen. It'd just rubber back.
Yeah.
Whereas everyone else seemed to kind of, if any little touch, and they seem to have
almost
break their ankle. Whereas I never really had that. I'd have the odd sprain, but that's what I loved about really. Yeah, you can get away with a lot if you're that way inclined. I think.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, and just going back to what you were saying then about, not being a runner, you also do a lot of like physical work because you're a farmer, don't you, as well, and on the bike you do a load of mileage, don't you? So probably all that combined as well helps to give you that strength that you need for fell running, doesn't it? That core strength
if you look at me, I was never that great a fell runner through my 20s, but I did a lot of other stuff then. I used to play rugby. So I'd spend the winter, trying to bulk up, and I was never a big rugby player because I'm never, I'm maybe a stone heavier than I am now, like 12, 13 stone, and I'm like just under 12 now. And then I do tug of war as well. I love tug of war. I just love the discipline of tug of war. 8 of you, pulling a rope back.
Expecting that.
Yeah, and then and that sort of thing I did as a young farmer because that's with the competition of young farmers. And when I grew out of that, I just solely focused on my fell running, and then actually improved then at my fell running. And like you say, I'm a farmer, and there's quite a few farmers in fell running.
Yeah.
And there's so many jobs that help the running, like walling. You're bending down, you're getting supple, and shearing's a real game changer.
Yeah.
I can train as hard as I want through the year, but shearing times like June, July, and I just notice a change in August then.
Yeah.
And it's that dogged hard work you've had to endure shearing sheep, and it just makes you a lot sharper.
So you don't need to put as much mileage in around that time, do you? You suppose you've already got that mileage in your legs anyway from what you've done previous, but then you're just getting that real core strength, aren't you?
Get some proper core strength. Yeah.
I live in farming country in North Wales. I'm surrounded by farms where I am, and you've like in that end of summer, and you either see them in the pub afterwards, or they've literally, when I'm running past on the bike, you see them literally physically shearing and stuff, and it is impressive because never have I seen them without sweat dripping and all that kind of thing, and they're just shirt open, getting on with it, and in there, it's like you say, you do it until you're finished, don't you? It's not like I've got 3 times 10 to do today.
It must take you a few days when you come into that to get used to it as well, does it, after every year? Is it like getting on the bike after a few months off?
Yeah, because you pick the shears up and you just forget which way to go with the sheep. It's like, I forgot, because there's a certain technique to do it. You do it in a certain order, and then you forget where you put your feet and everything. And I'm not the best shearer.
Yeah.
So I probably have to work harder than a lot of shearers, which, as regards running goes, is a help because it's another more of a workout.
Yeah.
Because
I know that time of year probably helps then when you're running afterwards, but there are times of the year where it probably farming is a hindrance, isn't it? As in, like, for your running, like lambing season, for example.
Yeah.
It's always probably starts a bit slower for you, doesn't it, the season, because you're coming out of that where you won't have had time to do as much training, will you?
It's just my lifestyle's very seasonal, and I'm always fit at the same time of year. Like, I've time in winter to put the miles in, like any good runner would do. You get the winter miles in, but then end of March, right till middle of May, I'm just so busy on the farm.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a nice sunny spring, I can still get out and train, but I'm not getting them miles in, and I'm not race sharp.
Yeah.
But it's good for the head, because as soon as I start getting that free time, middle of May, I just use the time so wisely. I can sometimes get into the winter routine and have time to train, and you just lose a bit of morale sometimes. And you're just like, I could have trained, but I didn't. But once it's taken away from you, and then all of a sudden you've got time, I really make use of the training usually end of May, June, and
those
to get fit.
Nights are getting longer as well out there.
Yeah.
And round here, if we get a nice bank of weather, there's no better place to train, is there?
Oh, no, there isn't. No.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
No,
really
no,
beautiful.
it is.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic, is that? And going back to your descending capabilities, and I'm thinking of Kilnsey now, which is our local fell race, isn't it? And it's one that you're heavily involved with the organisation of it all, aren't you? You're on the committee.
Yeah.
It takes months of planning, I know that. It's iconic, isn't it, Kilnsey? I mean, just tell us about Kilnsey as a fell race.
Well, I'll tell you about Kilnsey as an event and as a fell race. Kilnsey is the biggest sort of one-day show in the area. It gets about, it gets 10 to 12,000 people. And there's everything you'd expect at a show. There's cattle, sheep, horses, and then the sports section. Do a few little track races, but the main event is the senior crag race, and it's 1 mile. That's all it is. And the record is 7 minutes 35, set back in 1982, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I always did the junior races and always looked up to doing the senior races. And I've done the senior race about 25 times. And it took me 15 years, and I managed to win it on the 15th attempt.
Amazing.
And I'd go back every year, and I'd always come fourth, so I wouldn't even get the podium. And then one year I came second. I thought, I'm getting there, and then yeah.
And the talent that we've had at that race is incredible over the years, isn't it? You think about the greats. Kenny Stewart's done it, Annie, over the years, and not got the record. He had the record, but he's not got the record, has he?
No.
Who's got the record at the moment?
So the record's held by Mick Hawkins. And Mick's a local lad from the Dale. He represented Great Britain at steeplechase, the Commonwealth Games. So, and he was, I think he claims to be the first person to do a 4-minute mile on a treadmill.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, did a competition and did under 4 on a mile on the treadmill. Don't think he quite broke 4 on the on the track, but that's the caliber of the runner he was.
Yeah.
And then he could descend as well.
Yeah.
So he could do the fell running aspect of the race.
I mean, it's rare that you get somebody who can do both of those different types of disciplines really well, isn't it? You're either a really fast runner and he's not good on technical ground, and I'm stereotyping now, but it's generally true, isn't it?
No, it
or
is.
You're like me and you, where we're not necessarily amazingly fast runners on the flat, but we are good on the technical stuff. And I know we're all good descenders here, but like that's how it is, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it is. Yeah.
Steeplechase probably helped.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I suppose. But then, like the rest of it in between the jumping over, is like flat.
Just a bale of hay at the end.
Yeah. It's pace, isn't it? That whereas Kilnsea is just pretty much technical from the off, isn't it? As soon as you get out of that show field and up,
it's the first 300 metres. It's pretty flat out of the field.
Yeah,
and then you hit this steep banking, and then it levels briefly. You have a wall to clear. And then you've got like, what will it be, 200-300 metre really steep climb. And then you've got a couple of 100 metres level across the skyline. And then you drop extremely steep. And then...
you come down a different way? Or?
You come down a different way, so it does a loop, yeah. And then you drop down what's called the chimney, which, I don't know the full height drop, but there's 2 6-foot vertical drops. And in between them there's a ledge about 50 centimetres, foot... hardly enough to put your feet on, and then so you just have to get. And they put a rope up these days, so it's pretty much like Vera Ferrata if you've been in Europe.
without the helmet,
and the
safety equipment.
Yeah,
I mean, as a first-time runner, if you were to go and do that race, it's a pretty daunting part of the race, that isn't it? Because it is. I mean, we've done it a few times now, and I've practiced it loads, and I've raced it, and it's incredible. And when you're in that moment, it's over in seconds, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
But I could imagine anybody doing it for the first time and be like, "What the hell is going on here?" Because I would say it's probably. I know it's only short, but it's probably the most technical descent I can think of, really. Trivan is probably the closest thing to it, the top boulders of Trivan.
Yeah,
but it's like that on speed, isn't it? Because you're going at such a pace, aren't you?
You are, and at this point, you're inside some trees and a wood. So, as well as it being great to compete in, it's a great spectator sport because
you're not far from the field.
It only lasts like 8 minutes for a winner, so you're not getting bored of runners going out for an hour or two. So it captivates the audience the whole time. And you can see it from all over the place. You can either watch it from the field as they go up and down, or you can be on the hill watching them come up and down. And they're all equally, arguably, as good.
Yeah.
And then there's this section which is called the chimney that you drop down in some trees. So for a period, wherever you're watching, you don't know what's going on in there. Yeah. And I won it about 3 years ago, and I think I was third entering that point. And I came out of the bottom in first.
Yeah.
And I'm local, so there's a lot of...
When you hit the field in the flat, did you shit yourself? You thought, I've got this flat bit to do now.
I got into the lead, and the next section is a good downhill, which I was still going to be strong at, because I knew the competitors I'd passed, and I thought they could outrun me easily. And I knew the next section was good for me. So instead of absolutely gunning it, I just ran it strong to the road section, and then I'd got like a 300-metre flat bit to go in. And I knew I had a lead, but I was so scared I was going to get caught. They were all and they were racing each other as well as me. They're trying to close me down. And I looked back at the stats and everything. I had a 10-second lead as I entered the field, and I won it by 9.5 seconds. I lost sod all.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And in that moment, you just think, because I've been there, you think that they're catching me, but you must have really held it there. That's incredible.
And I got across the line, and I couldn't understand why they hadn't caught me.
Wow.
I thought, they've all had a bad day.
Yeah.
And that's why I thought I'd won. I thought, they've had a bad day. And then somebody said, you've just done it in 7 minutes 51.
Wow.
And I was like, I can't have done.
That's amazing.
I think I had done it in 7:58,
Took me 6 minutes to get up there.
I had broken 8 minutes 2 or 3 years before, but I didn't think I was just going to be quite. I thought I might be able to get to that, but I didn't think. And so
It's an amazing
everything just
time.
was perfect.
Yeah, and anybody who really knows that race knows that if you go under sub 8, that is next level, isn't it? I've never broken 8, never.
No, I think there's only 5 people that have.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah,
And I'm in a group there that I kind of don't feel like I belong to because I race all over the place. I'm nowhere near that good, but I just focus on that race.
and I was saying to this to Gary and Chris before that, like, you could put a 13.5-minute flat 5k runner. It was exceptionally quick, but put him on that race against you, you'd take him to the cleaners like 9 out of 10 times, wouldn't you? Apart from those, odd people, like I suppose people like Mick Hawkins who are defying those kind of stereotypes.
stats,
Like you would take somebody apart on that race just because you're not necessarily because you're a faster runner, but because you've got that technical ability and you know where to push. And also that's another thing, because I've raced you at Kilnsey and I've always been in front of you on the first section, and then you've always come through on that climb and you know where to push. And there's not many areas where, I mean, it's eyeballs out, isn't it? But you've still using tactics there, whereas I probably go off a bit too fast, and you've got the measure of that course now, haven't you?
No, I know exactly what I can do and what I have to do. I have to take the risk of holding back at the start because there's a pinch point after a couple of 100 metres where you cross a beck and a wall, and you can get caught up in there. So I kind of try and hopefully get over there. It's a little like horse race, you want to get over the jump safely, but in the pack sort of thing. And then I push really hard up this first climb, and then I just knock it off because it's level, and I just use and it's slightly down. So I just use that to fill my lungs and prepare myself for this really steep climb. And I remember the race when I won it last, I was 20 seconds behind the leaders.
Wow!
As I got to that point.
Yeah.
And then I just hit the gap. I just give it absolutely everything on the steep bit.
Yeah.
Because my theory is that you do the slow bits fast and the fast bits slow.
Yeah.
So
that bit where you've filled your lungs and recovered, that you're not recovering, are you? But you've eased off enough to just flow.
And other people,
the amount of people that will have pushed on that bit for not much gain.
Yeah, they're just getting into the battle with the guy at the side of them.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of that so much when I go racing. I just take on whoever's next to me, and I train on Kilnsey. I don't do it as much now. I haven't run it for 2 years, but I train so much on it to know what I can get out of myself.
Yeah.
And then I remember I got to the top and I was in 4th, and then all of a sudden there's a big steep drop, and then I got rid of the guy next to me who I'd not met in my life.
Is it the kind of course that you can overtake on that downhill?
Well, Ted will say yes, but anybody else will say no. I'm sorry, I had to get that in
the
there.
way you described the gym.
I know you've got some lines on there, and let me tell you, Gary, there are no lines really on there. But like what Ted's having to run over to pass people, is insane. But go on, I'll let you answer.
Yeah,
that
well,
now,
the first bit of the descent is just a rocky steep bit, and there's a slight bit of a scree that sort of slightly wiggles, and that's where the sensible runner goes. Yeah. But I know if I'm going to try and pass somebody, I just take a straight line off the rock and just sort of miss this scree bit and just plough through on the rockier stuff, taking risks just to get in front of them.
Yeah.
Sometimes the best line is avoiding the person to a certain degree, especially if you want to go past them, because if they're not expecting you to go past that way anyway, they're not going to get in your way or anything. I
mean, that's the only place really on there you can pass, isn't it? Apart from when you're actually in the chimney, you cross over a fence and you go down the chimney where the rope is.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't pass anybody really in that chimney bit unless you go to the left, and I think you've run to the left of that, haven't you? Which is even probably more dangerous, isn't it? Really?
I have. Yeah. I don't usually.
No, do you stay in the chimney now?
Stick to the gully.
Yeah.
The last year I ran it. Sorry. There was, I was 4th, and the 3 in front of me passed positions about 5 or 6 times. It was a fantastic race to watch from 4th, and it was Mark Lamb who won it, the Keswick runner, and he'd set off far too fast, and it was Finlay Grant and Nick Swinburne. And Nick's a former winner then. He knows how to win it. Finlay's yet to. He might do one day. And so them two had caught Mark and got into the chimney before him, and then Finlay had frozen and Mark had managed to pass both of them in the chimney.
Wow.
He'd just gone round them. I don't know how he'd done it.
No, I don't. There's not room. There's not much room to pass there.
As I got there, I saw Finlay floundering because he led into the chimney and he came out third, and then I got down fourth, and then I watched Mark and Nick have a sprint finish, and Mark beat him. It was a cracking race to watch.
It's an incredible spectacle, and it? For a spectator, and also to race it is amazing. It's just adrenaline fueled all the way, but it is one of the best to watch. And now you've set. I'm right in thinking TV up in the chimney now, haven't you? So you can watch it back at the show field.
Yeah, the last couple of years they've had some big screens in on the show field, so they've a live feed into the chimney.
Yeah.
So that's so you can actually see the whole route now if you're on the show field.
Here's a question for you both. Well, a lot of the time I'll hear, because like I say, I love downhill of running down mountains and stuff, but you hear advice about you just take your brain out at the top and plough down stuff, whereas I always thought for me it's the other way around. That's when I'm like lazy. If I'm in a race or I'm pushing and it's super technical, that's when I'm like laser focused almost. It feels like it. Although I'm not, it's not like I'm not worried at all, but I am laser focused. I've done the opposite of taking my brain out. That's when my brain is switched on a lot. And like you say, you're making micro decisions about lines and stuff like that. You two obviously good at downhill, so what do you think? Is it brain out at the top, or is it brain in at the top? Because I always think it's brain in.
Yeah, I fully agree with you.
Yeah, I do
as well.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah.
Because how many times do you hear people, just take your brain out at the top?
Yeah, no, I've been told that, and I've never really sort of thought about it, but you don't at all.
No.
And I think you're laser focused because you're taking more risks as well. I know we're taking as straight a line as possible out there, and we're taking risks, so you have to be on it, don't you? Yeah. And you are looking not at your feet, you're looking ahead, aren't you? I mean, it's like a snooker player, I always say. Like, you're probably 7 shots in front of where your feet are, aren't you? You just do it. I say you do it without thinking, but you are thinking about it, aren't you? You're processing things so quickly.
It's repetition. Yeah. Like the assumption is that anyone that's great at descending isn't thinking about it, or is just taking the biggest risks when they're not really. They're the ones that have practiced really hard, and they obviously enjoy it, and they might be good at it, and they might have rubber ankles, but they're laser focused at that point. Yeah.
I don't know if you've studied your heart rate when you're descending, but sometimes mine just goes through the roof.
Does it?
Yeah. Like higher than it should do, like over 200.
Wow.
Now whether there's a mild, it's not reading properly.
Yeah.
Arousal.
Is that the Garmin term?
I think that's the last thing on my mind when I'm trying to get down a hill.
Garmin says you've been aroused for 20% of your run.
For 20 seconds. But I've seen you come down Buckden Pike descent, which that last descent to the Beck it's a steep one, and you've come down there like nobody's business. Like I've never seen anybody run as fast down there, but you must have to be so switched on and, like you said, taking risks and straight lining it to the point where you're almost, it's like a car that's like you've fully put your foot down to the ground and you're almost out of control, but you're still in control, aren't you?
Yeah. But your brain's working so hard to concentrate. Like you were saying, you have to concentrate. And when the descent's finished, you get such a, wow, I've done it.
Yeah.
It's the release that you can actually give your brain a bit of a rest for a minute.
Yeah.
But no,
that bit where you hit the descent and you still have to run fast, that is, like you say, like I remember every single time where it's like relief or whatever. It's not necessarily because of the risk, it's just because you've been concentrating so hard, I think.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. No,
have you got any more tips for people, Ted, on descending? Like, how would you practice getting? If you were somebody who wasn't a good descender, what would you say to them to become a better descender?
It's so tricky because it's sometimes better to ask somebody who's not good at it, who's learned to be good at it, innit? Because it just sort of comes naturally to me, and I can't struggle to break it down.
I suppose it'd be practice as well, wouldn't it? I think for me, it's about being able to read terrain. Like if we did say Kettlewell fell race, and we know we've got that final descent and we're on scree, but then we're off it, we would pick a line without really thinking about it because we know where we're going to get the best grip and where's the best lines. Whereas I think if someone's coming into it new, they're probably not used to that feeling of running on scree, for example.
No.
So I suppose it'd be about practicing with the terrain, wouldn't it? And getting used to that.
It's just practicing.
Yeah.
Sometimes people have never took a tumble and stuff like that. Whereas actually, 9 times out of 10, when you do take a tumble, nothing bad happens. Just bounce back up or whatever, and all that kind of stuff. I think a lot of it plays into it when they've come into the sport, and when I used to coach all the groups and everything, and they were on trail or fell, and so many of them said they were scared of the downhill and stuff. So and a lot of it was got no science behind it or anything, but I would just say, well, what are you thinking about when you go down? And it list all these scared words about injury and all this stuff. It's like, well, how do you want to feel? And it'd give off a couple of positive words. And I was like, right, every single time now, just think of those, pick those 2 words. I want to be strong and confident, if that's what it is. It's not fast and something to get downhill. It's just I want to be strong and confident. And it sounds a bit like woo-woo, but I found that helped just to because you forget when I'm on downhill, I'm loving it. I'm excited by it. I'm thinking of all those words. I might want to overtake them because I know that they're better at me on the ups and stuff like this.
Yeah.
Whereas if these people are just saying negative words, sometimes it's just enough to switch the way they're thinking.
Yeah.
Just take your brain out of the top of the hill.
Yeah.
I just love the challenge that there's somebody there and can I get them, and I just get a proper adrenaline rush.
You can just latch onto people sometimes in a race, can't you?
The last buzz I did was one that you stewarded at, was the Stuybarrow Dodd race.
Oh yes,
And I'd never done the descent, and thankfully there was a nice string of runners in front, so I knew because there's different lines on this up in the Lake District, and I only passed about 2 or 3 runners, but I made so much ground on them to get to there to then have a battle with them, and it was such a buzz. I just loved it.
It's a game changer in a race, isn't it? I mean, races are won and lost on the descent out there as well sometimes, or on the climb. If you're weak at one, you can lose a lot of ground, and the descent's where you can make up a lot of time, isn't it?
Yeah,
even though it's a short distance. Yeah.
Do you ever have like a wry smile when someone does you because of a line or something? It's like there's nothing you can do about it. You just see them out the corner of your eye. Where's that one come from or something? It is quite fun doing that. You don't, because it does happen, doesn't it? Yeah.
Oh, definitely. And one thing, and I'm just going back to Kilns before we move on, is you didn't mention when you won it. How old were you? Were you 40?
Oh, 42.
42, which is impressive in itself, and to win it as a veteran. And I know that, like, there are plenty of really good Vet 40 runners about, but still, I think that is encouraging for anybody coming into the sport later as well, because you're still running at a really high level there.
The fortnight then, so that was probably the end of the fortnight. It was the best form I've ever been in, and it didn't last long. Yeah. But everything just clicked into place.
It's a precious thing, isn't it? That form. It's a beautiful thing.
So that was 2021. So 2019, I broke my neck.
Yeah.
So the last 6 months of that, I was out. And then I was just getting fit to run, but I wasn't strong, and I was getting a little bit frustrated. But it was coming. I was getting back. I should be grateful I was alive, because I could have been dead. And then COVID hit, so it was like, oh damn. So spent the next year just sort of doing. I kept myself active with my mother half Lucy, and we used to do like handicap races and stuff. So we still, we had a good bit of good fun through that summer doing different stuff. So then it was the 2021 year, and I just sort of found this form early August, and I beat a local mate of mine, Simon Bailey at Arncliffe, and I don't beat him very often. I've beaten him about 3 times in my life, and I thought, I'm going to.
That's a measuring stick in it, Simon. He never has a bad race.
He's a year younger than me, but similar. A couple of years younger, but so a year younger than me, and never beat him, and I got him there, and then I got to Kilnsey, and Simon was there, but he was only 5th that day because the calibre of the field that turned up. And I stood on that start line that day, so excited. Mm-hmm. I'd been beaten 3 days previous to Joe Hudson, a young lad from Malham, and he was running, and he's a far better runner than me. And I just thought, I've got a chance, but I think you're just too strong for me. There was Nick Swinburne, who'd won it under 8 minutes. I thought, I've not got a chance against you. There was a lad I didn't know about from Wales called Tom Wood. First time I'd ever met him. He was 18 at the time, and he turned up and beat me to the top. And I thought, who's this kid?
And he's a class act, isn't he, Tom?
Yeah, and he went on to become British under-23 champion a week later. And I was just like, well, I'm going to come anywhere between 1st and 5th here.
Yeah.
So when I'm top of the pile, I couldn't believe it.
Oh, and that makes it ever sweeter, doesn't it? Because that is a hard-earned win.
But talk about how something can affect you. I cried for 2 months. Every time the thought came into my head, I just burst into tears with joy. I'd wake up in the middle of the night just crying.
It's amazing, isn't it? I'll never forget it.
And then I'd start to tell somebody the story, and I couldn't, because I'd just start crying, because I still couldn't believe I'd done it. It was like, wow.
No one can ever take that away from me either. It'll go down in history, that, Ted. And
it was an amazing feeling.
When I found out, we were in Italy at the Tre Refugi, and I was so happy for you, like genuinely, because I knew what it meant to you as well. And it's your local race. You've put so much, you poured your heart and soul into the event as well, haven't you? Over those years, I've tried for 15 years to win it, and then to win it like that, sub 8, it's special.
And like you say, stood on the start line knowing that it was a strong field as well, and still doing it. That's almost even better, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's you see boxers going, I'm going to beat you, I'm going to kill you, and all this kind of it's kind of a threat. And you see it in other sports how the people put their confidence forward. I generally stood on that start line and thought, I'll probably come fifth today. I really didn't have the confidence I could win. Yeah. But I had the confidence to do what I could do. And then that was the best to win.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a funny old mindset. And looking back, it was an ideal mindset.
What was the time you ran when you went back, out of interest?
Have
you been back since?
Yeah, so that was 2021. Then the last 2022 was the last year I'd ran it. I was 20 seconds slower, I think, about 8:15, 8:20.
Just shows, doesn't it?
And it makes a big difference, that, doesn't it? As in, like, 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Depending on the day, obviously conditions as well, but that can be the difference between 3 or 4 places at that race, can't it?
Yeah, it can. I just didn't find the form that year.
No, but everything just were right in 2021.
Yeah, it just clicked for some reason.
You mentioned another name before, Joe Hudson, talented young runner. Also, his dad, Robert Hudson, used to run, and he almost broke the record, didn't he, one year?
He was leading, and then he sprained his ankle in the back on the way back. So it was just as he got to the flat field, and,
right near the finish as well.
No way.
Do you reckon he'd have done the record that year? You say that, don't you? You never know, do you?
I don't know. I don't know how well he was running. He's won the race. He did it in about 8:02, I think.
Yeah.
So he was capable runner, was Rob.
Do you think that anybody can beat that record? Because it's a bloody good record.
What is the record? Remind me. I know you said it.
It's 7 minutes 35.
Yeah.
The current English champion, Ben Rothery, I think he could do it.
Yeah, we had a chat, didn't we, other week about this? Yeah,
he came this year and ran it for the first time, and the conditions were atrocious. It was even a little bit of rain makes it atrocious because it's so slippy on the rocks, and he did it in 8 minutes dead. And there was the regulars there: Finlay Grant, Simon Bailey, and Oliver Bailey. That's another. I can mention that in a second. Actually, father and son racing each other. And they were all like 20, 30 seconds down on their normal time.
Yeah.
And he's gone and run it in 8 minutes on his first go.
Yeah.
And he won it by 30 seconds. He wasn't even pushed in the end.
Yeah. And he's somebody who can run up and down, can't he? He can descend, but he can also climb, can't he, with the best of them. So
he can. He's relatively new to fell running.
Yeah,
he's just come on the scene these last few years. And he's an absolute talented.
That trajectory for him, I think, he's just going to continue, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I agree with you. That was the name I was thinking of in my head. Yeah. So I'm glad you said that.
And Joe Hudson, he ran it as an 18-year-old. I think he was 18 when that year I won it. And since then he's been away in America at Boise University. So he's always been there this time of year. At that time of year, sorry. But I spoke to his mum at the weekend, and he's back over, and he's keen to train for Kilnsey. So
that'd be interesting.
That could be a real head-to-head.
He's got 20 years to train then.
Yeah,
yeah, he's got plenty of time, hasn't he?
Joe v. Ben. And Joe Hudson has the under-17s record, which is a similarly hard course. It doesn't involve that really horrible descent, but
the tasty route.
He got the record off Mick Hawkins, who was a senior crag race record, because he had both at the time.
There we go.
So he has the talent to do it as well.
Yeah, definitely. So. It's going to be an interesting few years, isn't it? Good
for
the
it should
spectator.
Be. And now I do the commentary and I'm the chief steward, and that's my main role there is to make sure the top runners come.
And Bet Ted, would you get Bet Ted going there? Ted's a man of many talents. He's into many things which we won't unravel on this podcast.
Last night I was taking bets on ferret racing.
He's not joking either. The ferret racing is amazing. Yeah. Was it on last night?
Yeah, it was last night.
Oh, I can't believe I missed it.
Yeah, see,
this is a spectacle.
There's 3 ferrets race simultaneously down a pipe, round a corner where you can then see them through a see-through pipe, and then back the other way, and it's first ferret out wins. Straight knockout.
It's a local pub by Ted. It's an amazing spectacle, is that?
Yeah,
isn't it?
It's mad.
Yeah.
And there's folk chucking 20 quid at you, 30 quid, and I'm just sort of guessing some odds and taking money.
So you set up as Bet Ted, don't you?
Bet Ted, yeah.
Bet Ted.
I lost 4 quid on first race, 7 quid on next race. Anyway, I ended up making 300 quid profit for Fell Rescue. So I took 100 odd quid profit on last race. So we did well in the end. No, it's good night.
And just a nod there as well, because you've raised a lot of money over the last few years for Fell Rescue, haven't you? And other charities, but mainly Fell Rescue. I mean, the amount of work you've put in on various events, your Bet Teds and your challenges, like that deserves some respect, that Ted.
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah, and I like doing it. Yeah, so I have my bet, Ted. So I do the ferret racing,
Yeah.
and I bet on an annual cricket match we have at, I've just been roped in to do some like virtual horse racing betting in a couple of weeks at local school. So yeah, it's all good fun.
I don't know why people don't run books on fell racing and stuff.
Well, going back to Kilnsey, they do.
Do they?
After the crag races finish, we have the trotting. So the horses with the carts on the back. If you're not familiar with trotting, I think it's called. It's not called. No, that's what it's pacing or trotting or something. I'm trying to think of its actual name. So you get a load of bookies come and take bets on them, and some come early and do the bets on the fell race.
Will they? Yeah.
Yeah. Because the main bookie came up to me last year. Goes, "Can you give me some tips?" And so I said, "Yeah, there's Ben Rothery, Finlay Grant, Simon Bailey, blah blah blah." Yeah, and who's going to win? I says, Ben Rothery, I think. And I put 20 quid on myself to back what I'd said.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't give me that evens.
Sorry,
I'm just distracted. Last year at Kilnsey, there was Simon Bailey, who's won it several times. The rival I've just been talking about. And it was he was 43, I think, then. And his son, Oliver, 17, still running the juniors, but Kilnsey's age on the day, if you're 17, you're in the senior race. And Ollie had been resting. He was keen to take his dad on for the first time. And I teed it up. I was doing the commentary, and I teed it up at the start. I said, "Watch the battle between these two." And they came 5th and 6th overall, and there was 1 second in it.
No way.
Oliver, the young lad, set off, got the lead because he's got that youthful pace.
Yeah.
And then wily Simon, reeled him in. And then just before the field at the bottom, Oliver got him again.
Did he?
Passed him into the ring.
Wow.
And me, being an amateur commentator, were trying to work out who was in fourth. No, trying to work out the guy in fourth because I hadn't recognised him. Harry Cooling from Lake District. Anyway, and then there's this battle behind him, and it's Simon and Ollie. And they were absolutely eyeballs out to the line. And Simon, their father, dipped in front of his lad.
Wow, what a race.
And I saw Simon afterwards, and he had this massive smile on his face because he's not got me yet. He's so proud of himself beating his son.
Brilliant.
It was an absolute spectacle.
Just to put it out there about Simon, I would say he's arguably the greatest felon of all time in the males. I mean, he's won it eight times, hasn't he? The English champs. Against the grateful company that his missus has set up.
Yeah.
So. He has been somebody right at the top of the game, and he still is, isn't it? He's still an unbelievable runner, but Ollie's coming up in now. And when you watch them both together, he looks like a carbon copy of his dad, doesn't he? Physically,
he does.
If you sort of shut your eyes a little bit, you think it was Simon Bailey running because they've got the same style, aren't they? It's amazing to watch them together. But that battle, wow.
No, it was. It was just a brilliant. It was just a pleasure to watch it.
Even
though I got distracted for a split second looking at somebody else. That was good.
On that story, you touched on briefly that you broke your neck. Ben's filled me in a little bit, but I think you can't just gloss over that. We need that.
Definitely. You beat me to it, definitely.
Yeah, I was just out cycling one day, and there was on a narrow back road, and there was a corner to take, and there was a slight uphill after this corner. It was down to the corner, slight uphill after this corner. I thought, right, if I freewheel around this corner, I'll just have enough momentum without pedalling to the next hill. So I head up, looked over the wall, saw there was nothing coming. I thought so. Head down around the corner, and there was a cyclist coming the other way. And he saw me coming, and I just had my head down, and I'd not even looked up. And he just had nowhere to go, so he just braced himself, and I went straight into his chest. And I went flop on the floor, knocked clean out. And then, I don't know, I think I was out for about... I don't know. I was out for a while anyway, because I obviously don't know. He's telling me this is obviously what he's told me. And then sorry, I apologised to him. He says, no, he said, I'm just glad you've come round. And
I bet he was shitting himself, to be fair, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, there was no doubt it was completely my fault. I was at his side of the road, and the head down, and I went straight into him, just complete misjudgment, never saw him. So I rang my mum up. I said, I've crashed my bike. I don't just feel right to ride home. You best come and pick me up. And she picked me up and exchanged details with this bloke, whatever. Tell me what I owe you. It's my fault. And then I went home, watched, it was the Cricket World Cup final, watched England beat New Zealand. I remember that. Went to bed, slept on it. And then I got up the next day and I had a lot of sheep to shear. And I went and tried to move something in the farmyard, and oh no, I've broken a rib. I just didn't realise, and I thought, I can't shear shape, I've broken my rib. So anyway, my brother was going to the hospital because his girlfriend worked there, and he says, well, I might as well take you for a bloody just get checked out. I said, yeah, but they won't do all about a broken rib. I got to the hospital. Have you any more injuries? I said, my neck's a bit stiff, but I'm doing this, and it's it's all right, just a bit of whiplash or something. Anyway, they did an X-ray, and they found a little. They only just picked it up on the X-ray because how your neck's formed. There's like bones within bones, whatever. How it all works. It's really hard to pick up on an X-ray. It says, right, you're going for a CT scan. Went through a CT scan, and I'd broken my C2. So it's the second one down, and if that moves any further, all your nerves are in that. You wouldn't be paralysed, you'd be dead. It's the one that kills you. It's called the hangman's bone.
Jesus.
So if you hang someone, that breaks. You're dead.
Out, yeah.
And I'd fractured at that. I don't think it'd moved, but there was a fracture in that.
Wow.
And then there was I think I'd fractured and chipped little bits off about 7 of my vertebrae. So at that point, they pinned me to a desk and wouldn't let me move. And I was like, oh no, and I was starving. I hadn't eaten all day. I needed to pee and all the rest of the things you need when you can't move. And then I got transferred to, this was in Airedale, the local hospital. I got transferred to Leeds. And I think it was that evening, about midnight that evening, they drilled 4 holes in my skull, big frame on, and then and then a bodysuit.
Yeah.
And it was so that I couldn't do that. I couldn't twist my head. So
Fix your whole torso.
everything was just solid, so it would heal properly.
And did it feel solid? As in,
for 2 or 3 days, I would have had no idea I broke my neck because it had just swelled up, and it was so the incident, the swelling of the neck was doing its job. It was stopping my head moving. Yeah. But then when that eased, I was in a lot of pain from it. Then I was in a lot of pain from the holes they put in my head as well. But that's a bit of a byproduct of the state I was in. Yeah. And then I was on it. It was painful for a fortnight. Yeah. And I couldn't. I had to sleep pretty much like I'm sat now because this frame went down my back.
Had you broken a rib?
Yeah, I'd broken.
That's bad enough, isn't it?
Yeah, it's uncomfortable in itself, isn't it? Yeah,
I knew I'd done a rib. I've done 2 or 3 ribs over the years, and they're frustrating. Have you done ribs as well?
Yeah. Funny enough, I did it in Tour de Helvellyn. Slipped over and fell on the bloody water bottle, and that broke my rib. I didn't know until the next day. Yeah, you don't do you like.
It's debilitating, isn't it?
Yeah, and then once you realise, it's broke.
Yeah. And I find you don't feel like they're ever going to heal because they're just you lay in bed or you can just feel them moving. It's like, will it stop? I'm going to have to stop it moving for it to heal.
Oh, it's awful.
Not to take away from the neck.
No, the neck. Yeah, I've got a rib.
Holes in your head. What about your rib?
But I just embraced it. And after a bit, I just love wandering around the place with this stupid frame on my head because I'm a bit of a show off.
And you were saying before, you did like 1,000 miles walking, didn't you, in 3 months as well?
Yeah, I was getting up to doing 15 mile a day walking.
I remember following your Strava thinking, Ted's done this today. And we were chatting about it like he's been here, he's been there. And you went off and explored, didn't you? You didn't let it hold you back, did you? You did what you could.
I did what I could.
Yeah.
I did. I probably in hindsight did a little bit too much.
Yeah.
But I'd got my head in. All right, I can do 1,000 miles here. I've only got a fortnight till it's
when they said you can do a bit of walking, you took that literally, didn't you? And,
I did.
Took it to extreme. But I mean, did you have? I asked this question.
Were you walking just like around villages, or were you up on the hills? If
I just
bumped into Ted with his head drilled into his thing, just wandering, I'd be like, right,
I went to watch
local nut house has lost one.
So I broke it on 14th of July. And so this was like, when was it? Oh, yeah, and towards the end of September. So I'd been a while. So the healing process was hopefully going through. And I went to watch the 3 Peaks cyclocross, which is, if you're familiar with it.
Which you'd normally do as well, wouldn't you?
Yes, I'd normally have been doing it. So it goes up over Ingleborough, Pennigan.
You didn't do it?
No, I didn't do it. But I walked to the top of Simon's Fell, which is like the first hill they go up like this. So I'm stood up there, and all these cyclists going up with, how did you get up here? So I just walked. Yeah, so I spent the summer watching races round with me. Yeah,
but you stayed positive, though, didn't you? And you must have had some dark times, though, because I asked Gary this question when he was out injured for a long time. Like, were there some real lows, or were you just kind of similar to Gary, like always in a positive mindset and just tried to just see the best of the situation all the time, or did you go through some bad patches?
Whilst the frame was on for the first 3 months, it was all positive. Mm-hmm. don't get me wrong. The first fortnight, I was in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
But you're just dealing with the pain.
Just black and
Yeah.
white, though.
You're
isn't
just
it?
black and
Yeah.
white. It hurts. No, yeah, whatever. And you don't have time to make your mind ill or not. I don't think. And then when the frame came off, I was straight into doing a bit of cycling. I couldn't run because I had no strength in my neck, and I just couldn't cope with that movement. But if I got on a bike and got my head still, I was fine. But I couldn't do more than a few miles because then my head felt like it was going to fall off.
Yeah.
No strength in my neck. And then everything was progressing really nicely. So this was probably November. By about Christmas, I'd have 2 or 3 days. I thought, I'm never going to get back to where I was. It's just I just don't feel strong. I feel weak when I walk everything, and it only lasted a couple of days. And then I thought, don't be silly. I'm lucky to be alive. And then by the spring, I was running reasonably well. And then by the after a year, I was as fit as I ever was.
And then you went on to do the
And
Kelso
then,
as well.
and then I got even fitter than I ever was.
And do you think a lot of that was, I can do it again now? So you were motivated in that sense that you never thought you could get to that stage again, but you could. So did that kind of get you out more and give you that new motivation almost?
In hindsight, the break, in more ways than one, did me so much good mentally.
Yeah.
Because I was refreshed and ready to go again.
Yeah, and you had that hunger for it, I suppose, didn't you? Yeah.
I'm sure we've all gone through. You just sometimes you're just going through the motions and doing what you've done before, and you need to reset sometimes, don't you?
Yeah, you do, and take a step
And probably
back.
when you've been pushing yourself, whether it be through farming or through training or whatever, these kind of people are all the same, aren't they? They push themselves in many different aspects. So actually, like you say, describe it as a break.
Yeah.
Like you take a year. Like I say to people, if I've been running 20 plus years, if I have a year out of that, probably not going to do you. Going to be doing you some good to a certain degree, body wise.
Yeah.
You can always get back into pushing yourself again. Yeah.
I think you just have this fear that you're going to lose it. Don't you?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you do. Yeah, definitely. And when you're out for such a long time, I can only imagine that's even heightened more, isn't it? Like you've both been through.
So when you train, do you sort of up your mileage, and then rest a week, and then do it in waves, like you sort of a general rule is, isn't it? Because I struggle to do that.
I struggle to do that. I'm just kind of continually training all the time.
Like whether I was coached by Martin Cox for a long time, and but before that I was probably doing more, if anything. So that was a good thing. But I always if I'm feeling good and I'm running good, I'll probably do a bit more. And if I've got niggles or whatever, apart from that serious one, I never really got injuries.
No.
Really, I'd have some impact injuries from racing and stuff, but not proper injuries that kept me out. So, I wouldn't plan a rest day or a down week. I would train sensibly, but
just go on feel.
Yeah,
I'm tired. I
wouldn't be scared to take a day off at the same time, but I also wouldn't be scared to train every day.
Yeah.
So to some degree, yeah. And as I've got older, I've jumped on the bike more and stuff like this. So, yeah, but it's not. Structure-wise, I'll structure a week or two, something like that, if I can. I think as you get older, you kind of fit sessions in as and when more than anything else.
Yeah.
Like you say, quite seasonal as well.
Yeah.
I used to love putting in the time during the winter, actually. I loved winter running, to be honest. And then race-wise, it would usually be a mountain race in the summer, so I'm naturally out in mountains more, and I'm not actually running as much.
No.
I'm on big hiking days more than anything. So yeah, it's just natural breaks.
It's fitting it around your everyday life, innit? And same as what you were saying about your farming as well. Like when, again, seasonal, you got to work it around that and what you're doing. And I mean, we've always talked about we should do more together. We only live 4 miles apart, and we're very similar runners, and we'd be perfect training partners, but we never align, do we? Like in terms of like, I'll snatch time to go for a run, and I think you're probably the same, aren't you? So,
I don't. I have a few. Like I go cycling every Wednesday at 6 o'clock with a gang, and I think that's the only thing I've got in my diary.
Yeah.
The rest of it, I just go whenever I feel.
Yeah. That's all I'm like as well. Yeah.
And that's good in one way, but it's like you say, it's not the most sociable way of doing it either. Not as many people these days, but typical 9-to-5 jobs, I guess, aren't the norm as much. But yeah, a lot of people are training in the evening and stuff, and people say, why don't you train with others? I'm like, well, sometimes I'm out at 9, sometimes I'm out at 11, sometimes I'm out first thing at 6:30. It's like I'm not sociable. It's just I run when well, I'm not a farmer. I'm far from it. But I've got the luxury of going when I want. To be honest, yeah.
And before I forget to ask you this one, Ted, I'm just changing the sort of topic now, but we've spent a lot of time talking about Strava over these last few weeks and months, but I know that you are massively into and very good at the Strava art, and I've always wondered how people do it. I know you've got your own way and technique, but tell us more about that and what the motivation is behind it as well, because I love it.
The motivation is it's to sort of mix it up a bit, really. You know, it's like, I need to go for a run, and where am I going to go? Same old route. And then I thought, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll draw a picture and run this picture, or do some Strava art, and it's just an extra motivation to get out there as a base.
Yeah.
And then I'll just come up with some ideas of like, wow, what can I draw today? Now, I'm in the fortunate situation. I have a farm, so in a lot of ways I have a blank canvas. So if I want to go here, I can. You know, like you see some of the Strava arts, like, you know, around London or all over the world.
It's all like intricate cities, isn't it, and streets
they've
and
had
things.
to plan it with the roads that are there. They're not going across somebody's garden and then up here just to make the kit in the right shape. Now, I'm blessed I can do that because I've got a good neighbour, so he don't mind if I jump over his wall and run down his field. And I've drawn all sorts. I've drawn.
Ask the question, Gary. I can see you want to ask him. Ask him. Have you drawn a cock and balls?
I was going to say, have you seen that massive cock and balls?
We were all thinking it, weren't we?
I have. It wasn't that impressive for me, wasn't that? It was big, I'll give it that. But
Not accurate.
I haven't drawn a cock and balls, but I did an upside down elephant.
The downside with the cock and balls, I think it's a bit of a cop out. It's quite easy in terms of design.
Yeah, it is.
It's a basic shape, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's the most impressive thing you've drawn?
It's not a vulva, is it?
Oh,
with loads of
True. Yeah. It's not as intricate as that, is it?
Sorry, Chris. You told me to bring it up.
It is uncensored after all, isn't it?
Yeah, we're definitely living up to our name today, aren't we?
Is it the upside down elephant? Is that the most?
No, it wasn't.
No.
I quite like that one though. I did a picture of Lucy, my other half, on a horse, and that came out really well.
Oh, I have to look at that one.
I found with Strava, if you're doing something on a small scale, Strava's not that accurate. Sometimes you hear and it's recording over there. I don't know what you've studied afterwards, because it can just jump with the, however it works. So if you're doing something on a massive scale, there's less room for error. So it's pretty much where you went. But if you do something like in some of my fields, and I drew this picture, it was of a horse and Lucy was riding the horse, and it was just a sketch, and it came out a bit like a sketch, not that accurate, and it just, because it wasn't exactly where I'd been, but it just come out really brilliantly.
Look good.
And then other days it'll sort of error the other way, and it'll look absolutely rubbish.
Yeah.
But I've done that. I've done a stone donkey. That was an interesting one.
And when you're drawing it, are you? I think you've told me before, but have you got it on your phone and you're trying to follow it on your phone? How do you plan it out? How do you know where to turn and how far to run before you change direction?
No, what I do now is I'll take a screenshot of the fields or the area that I want to run in, and then I'll just probably print that off, and then I'll draw where I want to go. So it's just doing the sketch, and then I'll just go to them fields with my piece of paper, and know where I need to go, and just
like really shit orienteering.
Yeah,
A great crossover with our orienteering episode.
Yeah,
maybe that's something you can feed back, Ben.
Yeah, it could be, actually. Could be. You could do, Ted's version of orienteering, yeah. You could basically give everybody a drawing and say, best one wins, couldn't you? That'd be great.
You could do that, yeah.
Once you've started doing it, have you started, do people start giving you requests and stuff?
I've had a cock and ball request.
It's not the first time.
So predictable, man. I bet it was a guy, wasn't it?
Was there Strava name House.Gary?
Can't remember. Couldn't possibly comment.
All the things you could draw, and it's just
I've done a few portraits.
Yeah.
I quite like. I've done a couple of them that have come out all right.
What about that one?
Actually, yeah.
Get that one done, couldn't we?
I was just looking at that. Yeah,
It's a cracker, isn't it? That.
yeah. There you go. Right, I will do that.
Right,
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah, that's my next challenge.
What we'll do is we'll get
Ben,
some.
Uncensored
Remember,
special.
this is an audio podcast as well. You might need to explain what they're
Sorry,
pointing at.
and there's a little story about this as well. So basically, we're looking at a picture that's on the mantelpiece, and it's a picture of me and Gary But our graphic designer Jacob has put our heads on the Step Brothers film poster. So it's a really cringeworthy image of like two people in the same shirts and checkered blazers, or like a cardigan, short sleeve cardigans.
Cringeworthy?
Well, no, not cringeworthy. It's classic, isn't it? It almost looks like an old school portrait, but of us together in like quite a cheesy pose. I love it. So much so that I printed one out, put it on the wall. There's one just through there. I don't know if you can see it where you're sat.
Oh, I can, yeah.
So I put that up last Tuesday, and it's right next to the kitchen. So I'm walking through there, 25, 30 times a day. Kirsty's probably going through 50 times a day because she works in the kitchen all the time. It took her 4 days to notice it. And there's been nothing there before. It was blank, that wall. And she just noticed it last Friday. And every day I've been texting Gary saying, another day, she's been right past it. She's not noticed. And it's the sort of picture that your missus won't let you have on the wall, is it? I mean, we can all agree on that, can't you?
Yeah.
But it's staying there. She's not said take it down, so I've kept it up.
For anyone listening on the audio podcast, if you do head over to our YouTube channel, it is on the main picture. It's on the wall behind Ted.
Yeah.
Is this a good time, Gary, to say that you can win that picture?
Yes, if you.
I've said it now, haven't I?
Yeah, you said it now. Yeah. We're adding that to the prize fund, aren't we?
So we've got an Innovate cap, we've got some Innovate coasters, 7 to be precise. The rubber coasters, all multicoloured, limited edition, and then obviously really limited edition. There's only 3 of these framed pictures of me and Gary that ever exist. So if you want one, Gary will even sign it. I'll sign it. And Ted's going to do some Strava rap as well. So
it sounds like that's my next challenge. Yeah,
challenge accepted.
When you because you said as well that you spend a lot of time on the bike now. Was there a worry getting back on the bike or anything like that, or were you just straight back on it? You're mainly into mountain biking, but
bizarrely, I have the only place is where I crashed.
Yeah,
I have a bit of a funny feeling when I go down that road.
Yeah.
It's not much. It's just a little bit of. To be honest, I'm still in a bit of disbelief how it happened. I don't.
It's a freak accident, wasn't it?
And I think my memory is a bit lost from the literal build up to it. So
I guess not the best thing, but a good part of the thing, it's like an error in judgment, we can say. But it's not like you're going to do that again, maybe.
No,
because the accident happened. It was a freak accident, but
always be in his mind.
Yeah, and you can easily fix it to a certain degree, can't you?
Yeah, but it was a concern that I thought, I wonder if my nerve will go, because you do need nerve, especially to run downhill. But I used to know a guy who was like 24-hour cyclist and stuff, and because of the head position and holding it like that, he'd have awful neck issues and things like this. But he did it a lot. He'd be tucked in, almost like TT position a long time, and he had a weird setup that worked for him, and he literally had to be physically lifted off a bike, and I always remember him saying it was his neck that was the worst thing. So I was just wondering if it had any long lasting.
And sorry to jump in there, but I remember, Ted, after you had your brace taken off, because when you had it on, you used to have to turn your whole body to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And you were still doing that after it had come off because your body was so used to that happening, wasn't it? It must have taken you a few months to get rid of that, didn't it? That links just into what you were saying there.
It was twofold, was that. One, because I actually couldn't turn my neck for a bit. Yeah. But then, even when I could, I was still out of the habit, so I would always do this when I was turning.
Yeah.
It did take quite a bit of physio to get my head to turn back round. Because if you've been like that for 3 months, you just go about like that to start with.
Yeah, very limited range, aren't you there?
Yeah.
Not to bang on about me again, but in the Snowdon mountain race, I broke both elbows. I think I've told you before. But I was flying down, and it was not in a technical part. It was after the halfway house after there, so it was. When it eases off, if anything, but I must have switched off, funny enough, hit an iron rivet and went over the side and landed. It's like a mountain bike injury, they say, upside down, handstand position. So you can imagine the amount of force that's gone in. I just kind of blanked out quickly, and then I had a big gash on my knee. Finished the race on pure adrenaline. There's pictures of me like arms 90 degrees.
The robot.
Because they weren't
exactly, and I sat down on the hay bale at the end. I was like, I think my elbow's a bit sore and stuff. St. John's ambulance are there with the water on my knee, kind of thing. And anyway, that night I'm in the hotel, and it was that Vic Hotel, at the end of Llanberis, old school kind of doorknobs. I'm stood naked in this hotel room, and I couldn't get into the toilet because of the doorknobs. I couldn't twist. I'm going, Charlotte, to the wife. So I'm naked. She had to let me into the toilet, get me out, all this kind of stuff. And it was only the next morning at breakfast. I've told this story loads, but I just couldn't get the sausage into my mouth.
That's not the first time either, is it, Gary?
You have to watch this one on YouTube. But yeah, and she said, right, I'm taking you to the hospital because there was nothing to show. And what I'd done is I took the top off the radius off both arms, basically. So yeah, it was. But funny, linking back to what you said, when it started to heal and everything, I got movement back this way, but because the bone had turned slightly, every time I went to turn something, I did this. Because I had to, and even now my watch sticks out that way because the radius has turned just enough. So yeah, like Ted was saying, my physio, a lot of it was getting the right movement because I'd learnt the wrong movement. Turn a tap on and my elbow was really high, or turn something on and my elbow would stick up. And even when you saw me running, it was this one still does it because I was in a sling for so long. I ran like I was in a sling because I was running in a sling for a bit. And it's so odd how you have to change your body back through physio and stuff like this.
Re-educate your body to go back.
Yeah. Anyway, enough of our...
No, it's all it's interesting though, because I've not had anything as serious as that.
It's me and Ted and you saying we're good at downhill. It's like he snapped his neck. I've broken both arms.
Have you ever had any serious running injuries, Ted? I know that was a cycling one, but have you, from maybe going downhill?
I've sprained my ankle at Kilnty once.
Yeah.
I went over on it. And I finished the race.
Yeah. Probably on adrenaline as well.
Probably adrenaline swelled up to like a big balloon. And I've sprained it on other races as well.
Yeah.
So I do actually sprain my ankles, even though they are flexible.
Sometimes, like you say, it comes up afterwards, don't you? They're the safer ones, if anything, aren't they?
Yeah.
If it blooms up afterwards.
Because I've not had any serious injuries like you.
I just thought of one.
No, go for it.
Yeah, it was the E-Dale. It's the FRA champs this year. Is the E-Dale for the first one?
Yeah.
It was the last time it was the champs. Probably could be 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
And about 3/4 of the way around, I took a tumble and splat into a rock, popped up, and my finger was like pointing up there.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, "Is that broken? Is that dislocated?" And I was like, and I
almost don't want to mess
what do I do? What do I do? And then I convinced myself it was dislocated. So I was right, I can put it back in. So I was like, no. And I can proper wuss. I've seen blood on my knee before. I just go all lightheaded and pass out. And I just thought, oh no, what's going to happen now? I've like 8-9 miles to go. I'm going to pass out. Oh no, I'm going to pass out. And I got this panic. And all of a sudden I got this massive adrenaline rush. And I think I went from, I was in 14th in the race and I finished 9th. And I got to and I was like, wow, brilliant. And then I got to the finish. I thought, right, it's going to hit me now. I'm going to pass out. So I went to St. John's ambulance. I said, I think I've just dislocated my finger, but it might be broken. So there it is, sticking up. The St. John's guy. So which hand is it?
That didn't fill you with confidence, did it?
It's sticking up. Oh, dearie me. This one, the middle finger, the one that's bent 90 degrees the other way. I think you might need to go to hospital.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, God.
And Lucy was running, and we'd driven down, so there was just us two in the car, and she finished a bit after, and I said, "You're going to have to drive back, Lucy. I've dislocated my finger. I need to go to hospital." She went, "No, I'm knackered."
Did you have to drive?
So I had to drive. So I drove like this.
Just driving around, giving a bird to
her. Doing this to all go, going up motorway.
It was middle finger as well, wasn't it?
And then she left me at Airedale Hospital, which was on the way home, and then she left it, then came back for me later.
Brilliant.
I had just dislocated it. But it did look horrible.
Oh, God. And is it all right now? Is it?
Yeah.
You still have a bit of a...
No, I think it is fine now, yeah. It's a long time ago, I've forgotten, so it must be all right, yeah.
I mean, I've not had anything serious like you two, injury-wise, but I have got a recurring one. You know about it, Ted. It's the bloody blisters on my heels. And I've had it a few times when I've descended. I got it first at Trade Refuge, actually, on that descent leg when I hit the road.
Just before I went, years ago.
Yeah, so about 2010, I think it was, maybe. And it's awful. It's like I'm talking a big chunk of skin off the bottom of your... Like, literally your whole heel comes off. Have you ever had it?
I've been lucky with this. I say lucky, never had a blister, really.
Oh, have you not?
It's so random because out of all the stuff I've done, I've had a little bit of rubbing on my toes. The one time I got blisters when I'd not been running that long, and I bought some anti-blister socks. Never had a blister. Bought anti-blister socks, and it was like 2-layer stuff. and the friction caused me a blister. But
So the irony of wearing anti-blister socks caused the blisters.
Yeah. So I've just never had a blister.
This is a recurring injury for me.
Yeah.
I mean, this has probably happened about 6 times in my career. The last time it happened,
Let
we
me
were
tell
racing
you.
together.
Yeah.
You know when it was, don't you?
Because I passed you and you were having a whinge on the way down. Something wrong with my shoes. And I'm thinking, you've got this so much access to great shoes, Ben. And then you're moaning about you put the wrong shoes on.
I was going to touch on what shoes did you have on?
I did. I better not say.
I better
not say which race it was.
Don't know who he's in with at the time.
Piker Blisco. Don't tell anyone.
I remember you coming round the house a couple of days later, didn't you? And I was like, look, this is honestly,
this is why you beat me.
This is it, Ted, honestly. I promise.
When they're bad, they're bad. I've seen bad heel blisters. Yeah, it's debilitating, isn't it? Yeah.
It's just annoying. I mean, it goes after a couple of weeks, but it's just frustrating when it happens, and you know when it's happened as well, because it's painful, but nothing like what you've two have been through long term. Do you know what I mean? There were a couple of things I know I don't know how long we've gone on for. Well, I think we're all right for a bit then, yeah? Because are you all right for time?
Yeah, I'm good, yeah.
Check with Ted.
Yeah.
Hold him here against his will.
My brother's asked me to help him move house today.
I'm
busy.
Let's keep going for another hour then, eh? Sorry, fat boy. So one thing I was going to say is, and it's a really impressive trait of yours, this is that you're very methodical in your planning. So the couple of examples I'm going to think about here is, well, one is the Strava app, so you've obviously planned out where you're going to go and you've done it methodically, but also I'm thinking back when COVID was a thing and we had that virtual fell running championship and you planned a perfect route, didn't you? So I think we'd got some criteria, hadn't we? Was it, say, 4 miles, there was certain elevation you had to do and you could plan your own route, and then you ran that route and you sent your time in, didn't you, to
then you sent your Strava
from Mountain Fuel, and uploaded it. I remember you planned this perfect route. You'd really put some time and thought into it, and that was one example of it, wasn't it? Of where you've really dialed that in, and the other is runners and riders. So
So the virtual one, like you said, they did 3 races, and you'd like a month to do each one. So let's say one was in June, the next one in July, next August for the year. So you do 4 mile one, so much climbing, and you had to be off the road. You only could do like 10% on the road. Yeah. And then there was an 8 mile and a 12 mile. And running around here with a lot of dry stone walls, gates and stuff, and I was finding routes. And it took me till it was actually the long one. So I'm not that quick up on the mark. So I'd done the 4 and the 8 mile sort of around here, and then I went to the Sedbergh Hills for the long one. Because you get onto the hills at Sedbergh, they're very runnable and there's no walls. It was pretty much, it was an up and a down and an up and a down, and I got my 12 miles in and set a good time. Because there was nothing else on that year, and it was such a weird time. But I felt like I filled it brilliantly. And that was a great thing to do. Yeah, it got you really thinking about the route, and it was a good challenge.
I think a lot of people that love running at that time came out of it quite fit. Obviously, there was lots of people it affected and all that stuff, but I came out of it probably fitter than I'd ever been. Yeah, and it was, and races and everything was taken away from us. But I think if you did love running and you did have time or whatever it was, you could put into it. Yeah, and you can occupy your mind in a different way. Yeah. A lot of people came out feeling strong, I think.
I think it also depended if you were laid off work, because you'll have still been working, Ted, but I were working like mad because sports shoes actually boomed from that. Massive, so I were probably working more than ever before. So I think if you were sort of laid off, you were furloughed, that's the word I'm looking for. You were probably like a professional athlete, weren't you, at the time? But I wasn't. So then we came out of COVID, and all these people that had been off work for like 10 months or whatever, they were like pros. I came out worse, a lot worse, but yeah, it benefited some people, didn't it? Definitely.
Yeah, it was. And that I don't know how long I've been into Strava then. I'm a bit slow now. I think I'd been in it a couple of years. And it was, I have a local mate who was a very good cyclist, and we'd go and try and take each other's crowns all the time, and it was just such motivation. You know, he'd go out in the morning, and I'd see it, and I'd go out in the evening, and
take it off him.
And we're so even as well. He's a better road cyclist and better on the good, clean stuff. So I'd go look for a rough section that had a segment, and then go set one here. You're not getting that off. and then vice versa. Yeah, it was really good for us. That
the runners and riders sounds good.
Yeah. There's an event at Bingley in November called
Cyclists versus Harriers.
Cyclists versus Harriers. That's at Cheers, Ben, and that's been going for donkey's years. And it's the same route, 5 mile route over Baildon Moor and back. And if the weather's wet, usually a runner wins, and if it's dry, usually a cyclist wins. But obviously, it depends on who enters. And it's the way the race goes there is the runners will get a good lead, and then the cyclists will catch them on the way back, because it's pretty much up and down on the way out, up on the way out, and back and down on the way back. And I'm going back. I'm 46 just last week. For my 40th, I thought, right, I want to put a race on like this around the farm. And I'd been thinking of routes and ideas and faffing me at sort of options and stuff. And I came up with this route. And so I did it for my 40th. And and it worked really good. I hadn't quite got it right, because I'm a better runner than a cyclist. So it actually does favour the cyclist does the route. So I've tweaked it over the years.
But it ain't far off, is it? Because every edition you've had, it's been down to that last field pretty much, hasn't it?
Yeah,
so the route that you've planned, because I've raced it as well. I think first year I raced it.
Yeah, it was.
And it was brilliant, because
yeah.
it was cat and mouse all the way. And that's the thing. It was a bit like the race of training Towin that we talked about in a previous episode, where...
and do you know where you are?
Well, that's the thing. You know you're in front at one point, and then you're behind, and then it switches again. And it's really exciting to race, because you're not just racing the runners, but you are as well. It's like a race within a race, but you've also got your eye on the cyclists, and then you get ahead and you think, oh, I've got them now. And then they come back, and that just goes back to what I was saying about you, where you've planned that to such a degree that it's a really, I think it's pretty much fair race. Yeah.
To be honest, I organised it, so I couldn't, with the rules, I couldn't compete. So I led the race round on my quad bike. So I saw what was happening at the sharp end all the way around. And I was having the top 6 got away, and all of them at the finish had massive smiles on their face. Even the guy that came 6th, it didn't matter. They'd all had a proper battle. There was 3 runners and 3 cyclists.
Yeah.
So the 3 runners got away up the hill, and then one of the cyclists was on a cross bike, Rob Hope.
Yeah.
And he'd got up the hill better than the mountain bikers because he's less weight to carry.
Yeah.
So he'd just about caught the 3 lead runners. And then there's a stage where then they get away again. And then on the way back, you've got this steep drop into a gill. And the 3 runners came through first. Then Rob came on his bike, caught one of the runners just before the bottom. And just as that's happening, the 2 mountain bikers come together, Sam Watson and Steph Messina, and passed two of the 3 of them. So there was pretty much 6 of them all in a heap at the bottom of this hill all together.
Wow.
And then from there, it's a long, steady climb back to the top of the last climb. And by then, the 2 of the runners had got a nice lead. And it was Sam Watson, who was on the bike at the back of the bunch earlier on, had come through to take the lead and win it. And it was just... Because
amazing.
As well as it runners and riders fluctuating, what type of bike you had fluctuating. Because the cross bike's stronger for the first half, and then there's a technical descents on the way back. So then these heavier with suspension mountain bikes came into their own.
Never thought about that.
And there was less. There was 20 seconds in the first 5, and then a little bit of gap to Lachlan, who was 6th runner.
Wow.
So it was just
great
amazing
race
to watch.
So you
Is that on your farm?
And
so they didn't have a chance to recce and stuff?
No, they did. So it is on the farm, and if they'd asked me, I'd let them wreck it. Because some of it is.
I think it's better that they have.
Some of it is on bridleway actually, so you can pretty much see the route.
Yeah, okay.
But there's a bridleway runs straight through the farm, and this sort of goes.
Don't
around
want to invite
it.
everyone to come.
No. I've now said, just come and train when you like. No. And it works this time of year with the farm because all the sheep are all sort of away, not in the lower fields, and we've got the meadows and stuff. Anyway, it works well for the time of year. So I was born at the right time of the year.
Definitely.
for the
Perfect.
Event. Yeah, and it's in the middle of the winter, and it's a great little thing to do.
It's a great season opener, isn't it? That definitely. So if anybody's interested in that's going to be next year now, isn't it? It was last weekend. Yeah. So you got a full 12 months.
It's the Sunday to nearest the end of January.
Sounds good.
It's like half an hour for winner.
And final thing from me, I think, because I know I'm conscious of time, but that leads us nicely into just a little event that you organised at the end of last year, Ted. One that was really close to our hearts, especially yours, mate. But I got so involved in it as well. Just really, really loved it. It was the British Fell Relays, and I'm going to let you talk about this.
I thought
one.
it was the stag do you were talking about.
That as well.
When we had a coffee.
Yeah, that's another story. We're going to have to get Ted on again because there's too many stories. Yeah, we need a Ted special every month now. Like ChatGPT, I think we need to do a monthly TED update. I think,
I'm only coming if you give me some limoncello.
I need to restock after that now.
Right. Well, I'll say the British Fell Relays, if you're not aware, it's end of season relay for all the running clubs in the country, and if you get in, that's another issue. And there's so much excitement about it because we all, as runners, know it's an individual sport. You're doing it for yourself predominantly. Even if you're a member of a club, it's all about you. But the relays are great for teamwork. And I've been doing the relays on and off for 20 years. And 10, 15 years ago, I was thinking, I wonder if we got the opportunity I could host it at ours. I'm not sure I've got enough scope to do the nav leg, especially because traditionally the relays, you've got 6 runners, you've got 2 solo legs and 2 paired legs. And one of the paired legs is navigational, so you get the map given, and where you go, checkpoint. And we got the phone call, it'd be 2 years ago now. Do you think you can host the relays? And then our chairman rang me up and says, Ted, you've always wanted to host the relays. We've got the chance. Shall we do it? And I didn't answer his message for about a week. I was like, no. And then I messaged him back and says, yeah, go on then. I said I had to do it. Let's go for it. First things first. Because a lot of these relays are in the middle of nowhere on a fell, so it's just like one area. I'm sort of in a valley, and to put the relay on, I needed permission from 11 different landowners and farmers, and there was a lot to get through. Potentially a lot of red tape. And I went around all these farms and landowners, whatever, and they were all like, "Yeah, get on with it." They were all brilliant. I was like so made up. My dad wasn't. He was like, I said, everyone else is happy. It's only you. I'm not sure I'm not sure I'm bringing that many people.
Right up to day, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was still that happy. Anyway, it was a success. And afterwards, he goes, yeah, well done. You got away with it. Don't do it again.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Is that high praise in your house?
Yeah, that was high praise.
I remember on the day we were so made up because he'd got his prize tup out, hadn't he, as well?
Yeah,
There's a great picture of him with his tup, and he were made up, and I think he was dead proud of you, wasn't he? Really,
yeah. We got a cracking little team together. We were just 4 of us organised it, and then the main organisers. And we were so chuffed what we put on.
Yeah, incredible achievement.
Yeah, the weather was fantastic, but the legs I'd designed were pretty good. The nav leg had all sorts of issues because we failed to realise that there was like a checkpoint up a river, and I knew the only way was to go up and over this hill to get to the higher checkpoint. But it looked like on the map you could go around the edge of the river, and it was a cliff. And they ended up in the river swimming. Did some of them, and then them above were rocking rocks into the river, and it was like the original map we'd looked at was an ordnance survey, and that had a cliff marked, and then we'd used a halving map, and that didn't have it on, and it was a fault on our part, but anyway, we got away with it.
It was a cracking route though,
yeah,
because
that's the route you did, wasn't it? Then,
yeah, there's a route I did for the first ever time. They put me on the nav leg. You'd never trust me on a nav leg, but because it was like essentially home patch, I had a chance to. Like when you say wreck it, you don't know everywhere where the route's going to be, and trying to get into Ted's head is just another thing as well. So I was thinking, what would Ted do? And then everything was going off in my head. I was thinking this could go anywhere. But for the 3 or 4 weeks in the build up, I was pretty much at your house every night, wasn't I? I mean, my car will probably park there as much as yours, wasn't it? And I were up with Kirsty, were out there with us, the dogs, and we were running the routes, and I was just linking everything up and getting everything kind of in my mind as to if a checkpoint's there, then I'll know where to get to that point and that point. And I think I managed to get about half of it right, and then the last bit was a bit tricky, but it was an amazing course. It was one of the best it was the best relay I've ever been to, and I've done everyone's for the last 20 odd years. And part of that is because you made it such an amazing event, and partly as well because it was on local ground, and it was just really exciting. Yeah. And just when it all came together on that day, and I picked that map up.
Because Ted had given you the route before.
Well, he wouldn't do it. I tried. Yeah, dropping in every day, thinking maybe he's left it on the kitchen table.
I tried to convince him you were going to get put on a coach and go to a different area.
He was telling me all sorts. Yeah. And when it came down to the day, I picked map up, because you pick the map up en route, don't you? Set off and you grab it from essentially what is the first checkpoint, and when you pick it up, you've got to process it on the run. And I was doing it as I was running, and I just knew where to go for the first 5 checkpoints. Not because just purely because I knew how to get from that point to that point to that point. So I actually put map away for a little bit. I felt that confident, which were great. I've never been in that position before. But what a day, and what an event, and what a delivery. And the fact that you planned it so meticulously, going back to what I was saying about one of your key traits, is it made it work. It made it work. The routes were amazing. Everybody had a great day. Weather was great. So just need to convince your dad to let's do another now, don't we?
Yeah, not for a few years.
Let that settle down a bit, yeah. We'll get him on a good day.
But the one, I'm really proud of how the racing and everything went. But the one thing I am proud of, and I think organisers should look to more, is like, we'll go to a race somewhere and it's just us at the race and come away. I involve the whole community.
Yeah.
I knew I kind of had to anyway because we were right in the village, in the community. So I had the local Young Farmers Club, they ran the bar all day and they made a lot of money for themselves. I had a cake stall run by a local cancer hospice, that's Manlands, who they raised 1,400 quid or whatever. The school was selling burgers all day. So it was their event as much as our event, as much as as a fell run event. And we're off to Wales next year, and I hope they can take something from what we, what we did. Yeah. That it's not just a relay event in a field, and then we go home.
Race,
yeah. Because that's usually how it is, isn't it? We sort of tip up in a random place, and it's just about that event. Whereas, you involved the community and brought everybody in.
It's like a classic brilliant relay every year is one called the Ian Hodgson in the Lake District. And that has a bit of a community feel to it because they've got that the tent telling the cakes, and it's not fell runners doing that. It's the local school, isn't it?
Yeah. They're buying into it, aren't they? As in like they're invested in the and they believe in the race, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
And it's nice, is that? I like that.
We're not just like stepping on their toes for a day.
No,
they're welcoming us in.
Definitely.
And that's what I wanted to do at our event, which I'm pretty sure we nailed it. And that's what going forward, you should doing events like that. That's what you need. Get the community involved.
Got to mention the part your mum had to play in all this as well, because she was pretty phenomenal, wasn't she? She did the job of about 100 people, didn't she? Let's be honest. She is some woman, isn't she, though, Helen? Like, she got stuck in, didn't she? So
she did. Well, an example, last weekend at the Runners and Riders event, she organises the catering. And there's 100 houses in the village. I live at Appletree. Every letterbox, she put a note through about a week before. Would you mind baking us a cake for the Runners and Riders? All money's going to charity like this. And she went around handing them out. And all these little notes. And the cake stall, you couldn't have got them in this room. It was massive. It was, and then all the school donated cakes as well because we're raising funds for them. So no, she does a right job. She loves it as well.
Yeah, wouldn't have been right just to. She needed to mention it, didn't she? And what an event, Ted! Absolutely fantastic. I'm just conscious that this is probably the longest episode we've ever done, and we could keep going. I think we need to get you on again if you don't mind, Ted, at some point.
No, that's fine. Yeah,
that'd be great because there's a lot. I'm sure we still need to ask him, don't we? Yeah. But let's just finish with thanks to you for coming.
No problem.
Appreciate it. Like and subscribe. We need to keep mentioning that, don't we? Hammering it home. Listen, if you enjoy listening to this podcast, enjoy stories like Ted's told today, learning more about...
Follow Ted Strava.
Yeah, follow Ted Strava for the Strava. Right, yeah.
Watch out for the portrait.
Yes, that was coming. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, I'm very, very excited about that.
Proper cock and balls.
That's all I'm going to draw.
Brilliant.
Who's the cock? Just two balls.
Or two cock and balls. Brilliant. What we might do, I reckon we should
definitely the cock.
We should print Ted's Strava out and give that away with the portrait. Let's see how closely it matches. It is just going to be a cock and balls, isn't it?
We'll go for that.
So, chance to win the competition, framed picture of me and Gary and Ted's Strava art, Innovate cap, Innovate rubber coasters, 7 of them, all limited edition, all the prizes. Like and subscribe, put some comments on the YouTube. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Ted, that was brilliant.
Is that all right?
Oh, yeah, mate. I could have just could have listened to you all day.
Fluctuated all over the place.
Yeah, I knew.
Well, you came up the other day and you said, "Oh, we can talk about this and that." I said, "How's that all connected?"
I just knew it would somehow. Yeah, I just think we touched on so many things there, didn't we? Like descending and like Kilnsey. You could do a full episode on Kilnsey, couldn't you? You know.
Yeah.
And then the British relays I wanted to talk about, but I think there's loads more to go out into there, definitely. But I appreciate
it's good,
you.
like even as I'm predominantly in trail and ultra, it's good to push fell running and stuff like this just from stories more than anything.
Definitely.
You don't have to do anything more than that, do you? To be honest.
Oh yeah, we're good up to that. No, definitely not. It'll actually go well together, that, won't it?
More of us messing up than anything.
Well, I was saying we were going to talk about Bofra, weren't we? And we did it on Curses, actually, so it was
Yeah,
quite
no,
nice
I
because
really, it
it
came into
saved
my
us
head
a bit
halfway
of
through. I
time,
thought, I wonder whether
actually.
you're going to mention Bofra.
Yeah, I was wondering how we could make them
Yeah.
different, but actually I think
Yeah.
filming them both, they work well together. So
Yeah,
it was
really good.
We talked a lot about Kiln It, we're good. Yeah, it was brilliant.